Hi there, this is lecture number 9 in my Magickal Science Lecture series, and this is perhaps the most important, the most practical lecture of all of them, because in this lecture I'm going to be talking about what we can actually do. What can we do right now? This lecture is all about bodybuilding and energy bodybuilding, and this we all need to do, and we can all do this. We can all do both of these things. Whatever the condition of our body, we can do something to improve it. And whatever the condition of our energy, our mind, our soul, we can do something to improve it. And that's what I want to talk about today. So my name is Toby, and this is Body Efficiency Training. And I've spent most of my life training different martial arts, internal martial arts, various bodywork and esoteric practices, meditations and philosophies. And I also have a degree in physics. I studied physics and nearly did a PhD in theoretical physics. So I've been very interested and fascinated with the universe and the mind-body connection and how all these things work. And these lectures are really about Tesla's physics. So Tesla has a very different physics to Einstein's physics, the physics we all are being told about. So Tesla has a very different idea about the universe, and also Taoist philosophy. The Taoists were the original scientists. They were really scientists studying the universe, but they were studying the natural forces, they were studying nature, and they were studying consciousness, and they were most importantly studying themselves. You see, we need to study ourselves. This is the real science. So the science we've got now is just looking at external objects. It's got no concept or no idea about the metaphysical world, the unmanifest, the non-physical. And we've got to include that in our science. We've got to include that. So what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about how we can build our body up. How can we strengthen and improve our physical body? And how can we improve and build our energy body, our soul power? And this is our metaphysical self. And this is a process of increasing our longevity and moving towards immortality. See, the Taoists were searching for immortality. And they went through a lot of stages in that. And in the last lecture I talked about the chakra system, the energy levels in the body, and the processes, the movement of energy, the way energy moves around the universe. And if we can understand these things, we can optimize them in our body. We can notice them, study them, and optimize them. In the last lecture, I was talking about the fountain of youth being the hormone system, and we've got to learn how to conserve our hormones and recycle them, recycle our energy round and round. So there's two things to this. We've got to conserve our energy, and we have to recycle our energy, keep it moving, keep it moving. There are bad people out there. Again, there are people who have got the wrong idea about this, and they will try to steal your energy and take your energy, and they'll go as far as stealing your hormones. Again, now this is not what you would call mainstream discussion. People don't talk about this, but they do. People are talking about this more and more now. And this is an external way of improving your longevity. You see, these super rich people, these super megalomaniacs, that are controlling the world as we know now, they are searching for longevity. They want to live forever. Remember, they're megalomaniacs. It's very hard for us to comprehend the mindset of these people. The best way I can describe it is these people are pathological, sociopathic narcissists. That's the best way of describing them. And we can't comprehend that mindset. Normal people, we've got an empathy. We can feel things. We relate to each other. These people, these pathological sociopathic narcissists, they cannot relate to anyone else. And once you've had that psychology or that psychosis embedded in you, and it's embedded through generations, each generation teaches the next generation, who teaches the next generation, and you've not had nothing to contradict that. You're super wealthy, you've got infinite wealth, you are the people that create the money. So your children are born into this infinite wealth, and their children are born into it. And over generations, this pathological, sociopathic narcissism is built up. The end result, we can't comprehend it. These people have got a lovely, sweet smile. Yeah, we're philanthropists. They've learnt this. A narcissist is a very, very good actor, you know, and we've got to teach our children this as well. All that glitters is not gold. And the reason I'm saying this now is because this is the external way of trying to achieve your longevity, trying to improve yourself. You steal it from other people, you take it. But this is only ever second best. The real way to build yourself up is you've got to do it yourself from the inside out. You can't really steal it. It's not so good. Stealing it will never really be as good as creating it. And the Taoists learnt that as well. They learnt that the hard way, because again, they searched. One of the first things they did was try and create a pill, a medicine, a magic pill that would increase their longevity. Is there a medicine, something we could eat that will make us live forever? So they searched for this and they created lots of pills, and they had a high success. You know, they did find some benefit to it, and it would give them, they would have psychedelic experiences. This would also be psychedelic. So again, there's another discussion I'll have in time about psychedelics and how this connects to the chi and the experience of the soul. But when you take this pill, they discovered it again the hard way, that the pill ultimately did not help them to live longer. It had the opposite effect. It had a poison effect. So they realized the pill actually was making them live shorter. And then they had to go back to the drawing board and realize, well, okay, it's not an external pill. What can I do? The only solution is internal training then. That's the only solution, is internal training. And these megalomaniacs, they don't want to bother doing any internal training. They're lazy. They're lazy. And so they'll never get it. They'll never get it. And ultimately they're jealous of us. Well, these guys have got it. Let's just take theirs. Well, what you don't realise, what they don't realise, is it won't work. It won't work. You'll get so far, but only so far. And you're destroying your soul in the process. And we need to understand that for ourselves, because we're looking for external pills. Oh, what medicine is going to make me live for longer? What medicine is going to make me look younger? And we're poisoning ourselves trying to do this. We've got now crazy, crazy poisonous medicine to make ourselves look younger and supposedly feel younger. Well, looking younger can help you feel younger. It's also been proven, because if you look younger, you have a makeover, your psychology changes and you feel a bit younger. But to genuinely regenerate your body, to actually physically become younger, you need the psychology, but you also need an internal training. You see, this is again another confusion. You see, modern physics has denied the metaphysical world. But modern religion, modern New Ageism, has denied the physical world. They're saying, well, I am an immortal spirit. I don't care about my body. I'm immortal anyway. No, you're not immortal anyway. And the physical world has said, well, we're not immortal. There's no chance of immortality. When you die, you're dead. That's it. All there is what you see is what you get. So both of these guys are right and they're both wrong. You see, they're both wrong. You have to take both into account. The body and the mind are both important. The body and the soul come together. But you can extend your life, you can extend the life of your body by learning how to optimize the processes in your body, and you can extend the life of your soul beyond the life of your body. And the Taoists were searching for both of these things. They were searching for physical immortality as well as spiritual immortality. So they could have one or both of these things. And we're going to talk about these things today. So first things first, we've got to talk about building the body. So this is bodybuilding. And again, not the bodybuilding of the muscles, but we do want to train our muscles. It's really bodybuilding of the tendons. You see, the muscles... I talked last lecture about the blood and the importance of the blood, and the blood flows around the body. We need the blood all over the place, and the blood is stored in the spleen. The spleen is one of the internal organs down here to the left, and extra blood is stored in there. So we want a good storage of blood in the spleen, but this blood travels around the body, and it also is stored in the muscles. See, the function of the muscles we think is movement. Well, yes. But the main function of the muscle is really a storage of blood. There's a lot of blood in the muscle. And when you do bodybuilding or muscle training, you train to the point of limit. You get pain now. I can't do any more. The lactic acid builds up to pain in the muscles. And now I've reached the limit. Oh, I have to stop. And that will train your muscle. But what's happening is the blood has gone to the muscle and it's sort of got stuck there. it's cramping up now. It can't move. The blood is just stuck. Now what we're doing is training the tendons. The tendons are different. The tendons are in the joint. So that same movement, if I'm moving my muscle to bend and straighten the arm, I'm not. I'm actually trying to control the elbow joint to bend and straighten the arm. So this muscle is still a bit soft. It's working, but not fully working. The tendons around the elbow are getting tight. I'm working these tendons. Now these require less blood and they have far greater endurance. You can do this for a long period of time, like a climber. If you see rock climbers, they can climb for hours. And they have to have full power, full strength in their body because you're going to fall off. So how do they have the endurance? Well, they're working their tendons. They're very, very strong, but they're not muscular. It's in the tendons. And that's what we're trying to train. And the efficiency is because the muscles are supposed to store some blood. So all this big muscle, there's blood hanging around, but it's got to flow. It's got to keep changing. We always need new blood. If you remember the last lecture, I was saying the blood cells continually die and regenerate. We need new ones. So the blood in the muscles supplies the tendons. And the tendons allow the blood still to flow. There's more flow of blood happening. So they don't burn out so soon. When you just work the muscles, I've got this rigid tension, the blood is locked here, and the lactic acid, the added acid builds up, and now I've got pain, and I can't sustain it. The tendons are greater endurance. So when we are bodybuilding, we are building our tendon strength. So that's the first major difference. Every training we do, every exercise we do, if we want to build ourselves, don't think about muscles, think about tendons, the joints. And in addition to building the strength of the tendons, so even the shoulder, I've got tendons in the shoulder, I need to increase the mobility of the joints. So I've got to have greater and greater range of motion in the joints. So at the same time as increasing the strength in my tendons, I'm also increasing the length. I'm stretching them. They're getting longer and stronger. That's the bodybuilding we have to do. And in the early, in some of the most famous books on Qigong, the earliest books, is done in the Shaolin Temple, the Shaolin side. And Dharmo, or Bodhidharma, was the original monk who started Shaolin. And he was an Indian Buddhist monk, travelled from India, went to the temple in China, the Shaolin Temple. I'll just briefly tell you this story. He discovered the monks there meditating, and all the monks were a bit unhealthy. They were meditating, they were sort of slouching. And he realised you've got to teach these guys how to sit up properly and train their body. So he tried to work out how to explain it. So he went to a cave and he meditated in this cave for 9 years. 9 years. And this is the 9th lecture. So you could look at this as the 9 years. We're going through 9 years now, and I'm telling you what I'm coming out after 9 lectures. So he came out after 9 years and he taught the monks what he discovered. And this comes as two books. Two main books. One is called Muscle Tendon Changing. So this is Qigong, this is the Qi training, and it's all about changing the muscles and the tendons. It was really about the joints. He calls it changing because the blood has got to move and you've got to grow. You're growing the muscles and the tendons. So he had the exercise, he had a set of exercises to train your tendons. But that's what I'm doing on this channel. You can look through all my exercises and all the things I'm trying to do are based on that. They're all muscle tendon. I'm changing the tendons. And then the second one he came out with is called Bone Marrow and Brain Washing. Bone Marrow and Brain Cleansing Qi, or energy practice. And that's the next type of bodybuilding we have to do. See, the first level is I'm training the muscles and the tendons, the movement in the body. But if I can get a certain level of strength into this tendon, then what I will get, I can see if I can do a click now. I don't know if you can hear that, but what you're getting is clicks in the bones. So I'm strengthening the joints, I'm moving the joints and the tendons so much so that I've actually got a click in the bones. I'm moving the bones, I'm separating out the bones and getting little clicks, little pops. So what's happening there is when you get a click in the joint, so here I've separated out my wrist, the wrist separates away, the little suction happens and I get a little pop. So the separation creates a vacuum, and the bones themselves are hollow, and inside the bones is the bone marrow. So when I create this little pop, I'm stretching out, I've got a little suction and it's drawing fluid, drawing the bone marrow. And in the bone marrow, the new blood cells are created. So it's helping to bring the new blood out. So the highest level is this. It's moving the bone marrow. And I have to develop a certain amount of strength in the tendons before I can get this. So it takes a while to click your joints. But this is one of the advanced trainings I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to generate enough power in my body and enough control in my body that I can click each joint at will. I don't know if you heard my neck click there. And you do this, of course, in osteopathy, chiropractic, and bone setting. Now click your joints. But it's not the same. You don't want to do it. I don't do it myself. Like I can click my knuckles like this, but I don't do that. I don't do it without physically doing it with the joint itself. Okay, I've got to do this myself. This is the bodybuilding that we're trying to do. And if you can do that, you're stimulating the bone marrow and drawing new blood out. So this is regenerating. And at the same time as doing all this, this also moving the lymphatic system, because all these movements are squeezing the lymph nodes. If I can get the clicks, now I'm drawing out the new blood. And if I can work the tendons instead of the muscles, that blood keeps moving. It doesn't stagnate. It doesn't get locked up in a muscle. The muscles then act as storage for the blood. They're like sponges. There's a lot of blood here, a lot of blood here. And this blood I use to control the elbow tendons. And the elbow tendons separate the joint, but it also allows the blood vessels, they use less blood. The tendons use less blood, so blood can still flow. So I've got greater endurance. And the bone marrow, again, runs through the spine up to the brain. So let's have a quick look here. Here's the body. See, the bone marrow connects to the spine. Here's the spine, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, to the skull. So the skull, in the skull is the brain, but the bones are hollow. The bones are crystalline. This is very important to understand as well. The bones are an organic crystalline structure. So they behave exactly like crystals. The bones are crystal. So we have these receiver crystals. We are made of crystal. And the higher meditations, you visualize light crystal going through your bones. But inside the bones is the fluid, the bone marrow fluid. And this bone marrow goes up through the spine into the skull. And you can imagine each vertebrae is like a little hollow thing, and the skull is like a big vertebrae at the top. And inside the skull is hollow, and inside the skull is the brain. So the bone marrow and the brain connect together. And the nervous system, of course, connects together. And this is what Bodhidharma was talking about when he said bone marrow brain cleansing. It's not brainwashing like a cult. It's internal cleansing, refreshing of the fluids, refreshing of the fluid in the brain. So this is the internal bodybuilding what you have to do. This is the master level of this. I talked in the last lecture, The Fountain of Youth, of 4 fluids. Water, blood, lymphatic fluid, hormones, but there's also the bone marrow. The bone marrow is another fluid. But the bone marrow and the lymphatic system are very similar. The lymphatic system helps the bone marrow to come out, or the new blood from the bone marrow to come out. But we need this movement inside the bones. None of us know this, so none of us are doing this, so we're just sitting down stagnating. Inside the bones, nothing is moving. Inside the bones has to move. You see, we think the blood circulation, we know that, move the blood. We don't even do that. But it's not only the blood we've got to move the lymphatic fluid, and not only that, we've got to move the hormones, and not only that, we've got to move the bone marrow. All these fluids we have to keep moving. We have to keep moving. This is the secret of regenerating. So the bone marrow connects to the brain, and this connects, of course, from pure spirit down to pure matter. Here's a crystal, and here's the planet Earth. So planet Earth represents manifest reality, and here the infinity sign, the ether, the spirit, represents unmanifest reality, and we are here, the soul, slap bang in the middle. This is the seat of the soul. This is our soul power. The heart chakra is in the middle, halfway between pure spirit and pure matter. And this is why we need to understand this. We need both. We cannot disregard the body. The spiritual people, the religions and the New Ages, they'll say, well, it's just that. The scientists, the materialists, they'll say, well, no, it's just that. I'm telling you the Tao. The Tao is here. No, it's not that, it's not that, it's that. But that is both this and this. These two things are actually the same thing. This is a grand unified theory. You see, we are physical matter, And we are unmanifest spirit. We are both of these things. I am a soul, but I am also this atom at the end of this fingertip. I need to embody this whole body. I need to be aware of everything. This is me. The soul is out here as well. It's everywhere. So once we've got this picture, we've got to work out what we can do to build it. So I've already said that you build the muscles by the training, but the most important training to do, and this is what this whole body efficiency is alignment. Alignment. And we can all do this. Alignment doesn't require fitness, doesn't require strength, it doesn't require prowess. Alignment means I'm just sitting here, and I'm sitting here like this, my spine is crunched. Alignment means I just have to work to, you might have heard some of those clicks, but I'm trying to generate clicks all the way up the spine. You see, I want control in each joint, each vertebrae. Click, 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 click. And the last one, clunk into the head, means I've moved the bone marrow all the way up to the brain. I've refreshed the brain. And this is alignment. Each one of these vertebrae have got to be stretched into the right place. If I can achieve alignment of the bone structure, here's the bones. Alignment of the bone structure, what happens is alignment allows, well, two things happen here. Alignment allows the energy to flow more efficiently. But alignment, what happens in alignment? Alignment is I am using my structure to resonate. To resonate. You see, I've got to talk more about this, but I talked about the water molecule is an angle like this, the water molecule. But there's also an antenna, an aerial. If you look at the top of the roofs, the TV aerial, you've got this angle. And it's because this angle, this shape, resonates with a particular radio wave. This distance has to be a proportion, this angle has to be the right proportion, and then this wave will be picked up by that aerial. In other words, the geometry of this shape is important to pick up this energy. So when I hold my body in the correct geometry, I'm able to pick up more energy. So alignment allows you to put yourself in the right geometry. You're putting yourself in the right shape. And the human body is naturally designed in the right shape. So I talk all about the neutral stance. I've got to try and find the neutral mid position of the spine. This is the natural position that your body should be in. And just by, of course, coincidence, well, it's not coincidence, it's to do with the mathematics of phi, but your body is just the right shape to receive energy coming to you. So when we can find the right alignment, it will improve our ability to collect energy, and it will improve our ability to flow energy through the body. And of course, not only energy, the correct alignment also allows the blood to flow better, because if I collapse the spine, all these things are crushed down and blood vessels are squashed, the lymphatic nodes don't move, so if I stretch it up open, I've opened the blood vessels, blood can flow better. So I don't work on fitness, I don't even work on strength, I don't work on mobility, I don't work on endurance. I do, but I don't. I'm working on alignment. And when I do all those things, I do them with alignment. So I only work my strength. See, if I'm doing weightlifting, this might be all I use, this little weight. That's fine. What I've got to do is work the correct alignment, get this exact control of my elbow tendon. Once I've got the feeling of that, well, now I can increase the weight. But I don't lose it. You see, if I go suddenly too heavy, now what happens is your brain kicks in, you're struggling against pain, and you forget the alignment, and you start going back to the muscles, and then they burn out. Oh, okay. At that point, you've got to go backwards. It's not about burning out. It's about feeling the alignment and the continuous flow. This is how we do bodybuilding. And then once you've got to a certain level, you're moving the bones. So now you're doing deeper internal bodybuilding, and you're moving the bone marrow, and you're regenerating new blood and bringing that out. So this is the physical training we have to do, and you will develop a good body doing this. You see, I live a busy life. We work hard. My wife and I work hard, and we have a full-time job. We're trying to run a business. It's not easy. So I don't really have that much time. You know, I'm doing these lectures, these talks, but this is very early in the morning. I do this very early in the morning because I've got to go and got work to do. You know, you can look at me and study what I'm saying, what I'm doing, but I'm showing you the best I can do. But I'm not saying I'm the best at this. I'm not the best example at this, but I'm trying to explain this to you. So this is very important. You think about the information I'm giving you, you look at me, but always look at me. I'm trying to show you how to do this, but I'm not perfect. You see, I'm not perfect. You guys could be better than me. Any one of you could understand this and do better than me quite quickly. That's absolutely fine. This is more about wisdom and understanding. If you can get the wisdom, off you go. You don't have to be limited by what I can do just because I'm here talking about it. And it's a very common problem we get into. It's that guru mentality. I look to the guru, he knows or she knows, and I'll never be able to do as good as the guru. No. You listen to information. The information is all of ours. Doesn't belong to one person. You see, I'm studying the same information that I'm telling you about, and I am trying to do the things that I'm talking about. I'm not saying that I have mastered these things. I'm saying that I am trying to do these things. Anyway, alignment we can all do, and we can always improve upon it. You see, we've got to realise it's minute. See, I can have this. It's quite good. This is a bit better. It's a bit better. Bit better. Now I'm at the level of millimetres of improvement. But I can only find that improvement deep inside. I have to find the awareness. Oh, that's a bit better. Stretch it open a bit more. See, I'm always working to improve and improve and improve my alignment. And that's the key. This is efficiency. We can always increase efficiency, always increase efficiency. So no matter what the capabilities of your body, you can always improve the alignment. I'm stuck in a wheelchair. I think I can't do anything. Well, I can. I can still improve my alignment of my spine. If I've got a deformed spine, I can't do anything. Well, I still can. I can still try to move and stretch open that deformed spine. And with some help, I can try and pull it. I can still move towards a better one. It's 1 millimetre is worth it. That work to get 1 millimetre closer is hard work, but that is worth it. And it's a lot easier work than what we do in the gym, jumping, running, and you're burning yourself out, bouncing your joints, you're injuring yourself with a lot of that training. So this is external bodybuilding. This is what we've got to work on. So this is the bodybuilding. We're training our alignment, training the tendons, training the bones, and ultimately training the fluids, moving the fluids through our body. And this will regenerate us. But we need blood. So let's see the blood. Here's the spleen. And the first thing we need to have is enough blood. You see that the most advanced level of this training, what I call structural isometrics, I have to hold a tension throughout every joint at the same time. And if I have to fight, I need the ability to move under tension. That means every joint, the entire spine, the skull, everything has got to be active at once. That means blood has got to go everywhere. I need blood every muscle, every tendon, all at once. Usually when we bodybuild, we isolate. Oh, I'm just doing this one. Everything else is sort of not doing anything. I don't do that training, and this training is not about that. If I were to do a bicep curl, I sit in a stance. Whole body works, then I do the bicep curl. I use the entire body to do any one single thing. This is the secret of like one finger power. You know, the masters who push you with a finger. It's not the finger, it's the finger connected to the thumb, connected to the knuckle, connected to the wrist, connected to the arm, connected to the whole bone structure, connected to the ground. Then the whole thing together works. You're using one part of the body, but you've got to use the whole body together. There's alignment and whole body power. Whole body power. But now we need blood for that, and it takes time to get enough blood. You see, again, it's been proven, most of us had a certain amount of blood. I can't remember the exact amount, maybe 5 pints of blood, say. But an athlete has more. An athlete might have 6 pints of blood. They have more blood because they're using it so much. They're creating more, and the body keeps it. We need more. And that's what we need to do. Our bodybuilding is increase the quantity of the blood, increase the capacity of the spleen, which stores the blood. So I need enough blood that instantaneously, boom, it's gone everywhere. You know, and this is why you have to warm up. You warm up because the blood is locked in the spleen, and as you warm up, the blood comes out. But of course, in martial arts, there's no warm-up time. Excuse me, let me just warm up. You have to go straight. So we need enough blood, and even in the body, blood is everywhere. So instantaneously, I've got access to all my blood. So how do we build more blood? Well, it's the diet. It's the diet we eat. We've got to eat food. See, we eat food. There's two things going on here. We can absorb ambient electromagnetism. We can absorb ambient energy. We can get energy from the universe. Well, there's three things going on. We can create energy from scratch. We can actually create it. And we can absorb ambient energy from the universe, energy from the cosmos, energy from the earth. We can absorb the ambient energy. But we can also eat food. We can eat things. And this gives us metabolic energy, but the metabolic energy takes time. It goes through, gets broken down, and that turns into electromagnetic energy. And that turns into it through the mitochondria. See, I talked about that in the previous lecture, but in our cells, here's a cell, there's the nucleus of the cell, but we have these little mitochondria. They're little separate beings. And these create electricity. So the food we eat actually goes to them. They eat the food. Our cell doesn't directly eat it, it's for them. They eat it and they emit one particular chemical called ATP. And if I remember, it's adenosine triphosphate, something like that. But it's not so much the chemical process, and our cell has that. So again, as I was saying, we're worried about diet, what should we eat, what should we eat? It's not us eating it, it's these guys. So really the question is, what would you guys like to eat? Anyway, the point is, they produce electricity. They're little bioelectric charges. So we need them, and then that electricity feeds our cells, and this chemical feeds our cells. But this chemistry is all to do with electromagnetics. And that's how we get the energy. So we're feeding the mitochondria. And just as an aside, again, an athlete has got more blood, but an athlete has got more mitochondria. He or she needs more energy. They've got more mitochondria in the muscles. And now this is now Jedi training. This is Jedi training again. If you know Star Wars, one of the Star Wars movies, when Obi-Wan Kenobi and I've forgotten the other, his master, they went to discover Anakin Skywalker. So it's Darth Vader when he was still a child. And when they discovered this child, they knew there's something special about him. He's got the Force. And they scanned him. So they scanned Anakin Skywalker with this machine and they said, wow, this guy's midichlorian levels is off the charts. So they just scanned him and they said, these midichlorians, they call it midichlorians in Star Wars, which of course is mitochondria. And they said, he's got so many, he's got more mitochondria, more midichlorians than we've ever seen. He must be the chosen one. So this is Jedi training. Midichlorians is mitochondria. And we can increase the number of mitochondria in our cells, which will increase our energy level. This is the real bodybuilding we have to do. This is the real bodybuilding. Increase the quantity of blood and increase the mitochondria and increase the control of our muscles and our bone structure. We keep regenerating the bone marrow, moving the hormones. We're changing the fluids. How do we feed the mitochondria? Well, this is diet. So now we've got to talk a little bit about diet. Now, diet is a difficult one to talk about because there's lots of confusion about this, and diet has become so passionate. Everyone is so passionate about diet. And now we've got the vegans versus the carnivores. And this is, I mean, they're nearly at war. You know, it's nearly a war. But what you don't realise, the vegans against the carnivores, is all a contrived war. This is what I'm talking about. The world is, there are games going on. You know, this stuff is not by accident, it's by design. You've got to realise, when you understand the mindset of a pathological sociopathic narcissist with infinite wealth that has been sort of steering the world for generations, they're going to do all this stuff. You see, the same corporations that will advertise the vegan diet are the same ones that are going to advertise the carnivore diet. But you notice the carnivore diet, they're going to sell you their cheap, mass-produced, factory farmed meat, and they're going to sell you the cheap, powdered vegan food. It's not even food, it's powders, mass-produced chemical powders and monocrop powders shipped all over the world. Most of it made in China, all these powders, and then mixed together, and they're trying to tell you that's good for you. This is just powders. And the same with this, with the factory farmed meat. We don't want that either. Packed full of hormones, antibiotics, and terribly unhappy animals. You see, neither of these are any good. I'll come to what we've got to do. But we've got to get over, the main problem is carnivores are easier to talk to because they're already eating meat. And the vegans and vegetarians are very passionate. And the problem the problem is there's a confusion of the ethics. There's a confusion of the ethics. We think, here's the animal. Here, the lovely sweet animal. We mustn't harm the animal. There's the animal. I don't even know what animal it is. But, here's the butcher. And we think, oh, this is a terrible, evil guy, But you see, you talk to any genuine farmer that loves their animals. Any genuine farmer, any genuine person, they will have more love for animals than any vegan can comprehend. I'll come to that in a minute. But you see, the ethics of this, this is the ethics of life and death. What's interesting, you ask any vegan, do you mind about, they won't mind harming another human being. Yeah, will it? They wouldn't, I will exterminate all those other humans. But don't hurt the flies. Don't hurt the... No, humans, yeah, I hate those guys. You see, there's still confusion in ethics. You're not truly non-violent. The only truly non-violent religion, well, let's say that, is that the most of them is the Jains. See, all religions are not equal. Some religions are very violent. This is the only non-violent one, the Jains, and they believe in total non-violence. They don't want to hurt anything. They'll wear a mask so they don't breathe any flies. They have a little brush, so they'll sweep the chair before they sit down, make sure they don't sit on any ants, and they walk very carefully. And if they dig the earth, they dig it so slowly they don't hurt any worms. They've gone to the extreme level of non-violence. And again, this is pointless. This is pointless because you've got to look inside your body. What is going on inside your body? The blood cells themselves are living and dying. They're sort of fighting to the death. You do have invading bacteria. You do. The body is a balance. So the bacteria are not aggressive, but you can get an imbalance. And when you have an imbalance, the rest of the body has to retrieve that balance. And those guys are just killed off. So we don't mind. If you ask a vegan, well, if you're non-violent, do you mind letting all the bacteria that are harming you, anything that gets in your body, let it live? If you're suffering from, an infection in the wound and you're getting gangrene in the wound, just let it live. You wouldn't. Oh, no, I'll kill that. I'll get rid of that. Well, that's not non-violence, is it? You see, on a certain level of the cells are living and dying all the time. And they're killing each other all the time, but we don't mind that. So there is a process of life and death, and it's not what we think. You see, we're getting hung up on life and death. But remember, there is no life and death because this is all one process happening. The physical body and the spirit, then they're not separate. So, and let's look at a human being. So we know we got to be good. We don't go around, harming people and ending people. But there is a time, and in the Shaolin has got a nice way of saying it. The Shaolin have got a philosophy that if someone verbally attacks you, you are entitled to respond verbally. If someone physically hits you, they want to bruise you, well, you are entitled to bruise them back. If someone wants to break your bones, well, now you're entitled to break their bones. And if someone wants to end your life, you're entitled to end their life. In other words, you're going to attack me with a knife, I will feel no guilt of turning that knife back on you. That's not unethical. That is righteous anger. And I can have no guilt because I understand there is no real life and death. Okay, it's a tough one. You're going to have to puzzle this. But if you can comprehend the ethics of even exterminating another human being is not black and white. Sometimes it is justified, but you can't initiate it. You see, if you're the one initiating it, well now, you've got to think carefully why you're initiating that. And now with an animal, again, you think, well, that's an innocent animal, but if you look in nature, you've got the predators and you've got the prey. This stuff goes on and on and on. And it's the same in the body. There's a symbiosis, a delicate balance of the bacteria fighting each other, maintaining stability, So you're going to have this going on. But let's a very good example. There was a time in Africa where they had the lions, and lots of lions, and they had the what do you call it? The antelope, the deer, and there's a delicate balance between the lions and the deer. And there were so many protests. You know, we mustn't shoot the lions, because hunters would come to shoot the lions. Oh no, we can't be shooting the lions. But the gamekeepers, they know that this is a delicate balance they're playing with. So that for a while they stopped all hunting. And the lion population built up too high and pretty much nearly decimated the population of the antelope. So the gamekeepers literally had to go and start shooting the lions to maintain the ecosystem. So even though all these protesters stopped it, well, in the end, they still had to just go and shoot them. And then they figured, well, look, charge for it, because we need money to maintain this game reserve. No one is paying us to look after this. These guys in the African Game Reserve working for free or pittance. So rich people from the West come and pay them a lot of money so they can go and shoot the tigers. Well, yeah, or the lions rather. But it needs to be done. They know exactly how many lions, which ones to do, and then they get paid for it so they can run the whole thing. You've got to think about it. It's not as clear cut as they might want you to have. Now the next one you've got to look at is the ethics of it. You see, the vegans say, well, no, I don't want to harm anything. Well, if you look at, there's another calculation been done. If you look at a field, you take, let's say 1 acre field, and you have one cow on it, one cow on that field. And then it's called deaths per calorie. So it takes, to grow the crop on this field, you have to decimate the whole field. You know, you've got to use a combine harvester, you monocrop it, and when the combine harvester goes through this field, it kills everything. All the little, the mice, the rabbits, the moles, insects, it kills everything. So you will have maybe 1 million deaths when you do this monoculture, 1 million deaths. And then you've got to work out how many calories do you get from this field. So say you get 1 million calories, but you get 1 million deaths. And then if you have one cow on this field, one cow, this whole field, this whole ecosystem is in perfect balance. Everything in this little environment lives and thrives. And one cow goes to keep the circuit. You know, the cow will fertilize it. It will cut the grass. And at the end of the day, this cow's had a very happy life. And then, of course, it has to be, you kill the one cow, exterminate the cow for meat. But that one cow gives you 1 million calories. So you've had 1 million calories, but one death. And the other one, you've had 1 million deaths for the same. So you can't argue this. The deaths per calorie is another argument. But the one I want to share with you is my favorite one. And this is the real one, because I was vegetarian. I was brought up vegetarian. So the first half of my life, I was totally vegetarian. And that's one of the reasons I think I had digestive problems later on, and that's why I had surgeries. I had emergency surgery. So that diet, I know from my own experience, is not enough. The diet is not enough. And I'll go into details in a minute. But the very last one, I've got to explain this ethics, because this is the problem for the vegans and the vegetarians. They don't understand the ethics of this. Now, let's look at the hunters. There's the bushmen in Africa, and the pygmy bushmen, very small guys, and they live in the bush, and there's still some now. These are the true wild people. We still got some. These are the guys that know how to live. And of course, let's digress again. Any wild person, any wild tribe, they always hunters and gatherers. They will always eat bushmeat. You're never going to find a wild native tribe that will not eat meat. You won't. You see, the vegetarians and the vegans, it's a new thing. And it's actually highly arrogant. You are so rich. Now, I don't eat that. I only eat this. You haven't experienced starvation. You haven't experienced real poverty. You haven't experienced what it's like living in the bush. No wild man would even turn up dead meat. They'd find a recent kill. They'd take that. They'd pick that up and take that home. They know every scrap is precious. We'd like, oh no, I wouldn't eat that dead meat. Leave that. A roadkill. You see a roadkill, oh, I wouldn't pick that up. A wild man will see a roadkill, they'll take that, cook that. You see, they have ultimate respect. They don't waste a thing. And the bushmen, how they do the hunting. So the bushman hunts. But the bushman, these guys have a little bow and arrow. I mean, it's a little childish thing. And dong. But they don't need power. They don't kill the animal. They have a special poison. They put it on the tip of the animal, on the tip of the arrow. They just creep up on the deer, dong, and the arrow just pops in like that, and it just gives them a prick, and then the arrow's there, and of course the animal runs off now. But it's just a slow poison, and it slowly puts the animal to sleep. And the Bushmen hunt it. They just track it now. They track it, and they might track it for 1 or 2 days, but the animal slowly goes to sleep in that time. And in that time, the Bushman, see, these are shaman. They're living in a unified world. They're talking to the animal. They're connecting their spirit to the animal. They're talking to the animal and they're thanking the animal. You know, they're appreciating it. They're connecting with the spirit of the animal. They're creating a bond. There's a bond with the animal. You see, you've got to understand. When you've gone to this disconnect, you're losing the connection. These guys have got a deep love for the animals. A love that the vegans cannot comprehend. They think they can, but they can't. I know, because I've done both sides. I've got a deeper love for the animals than I've ever had when I was vegetarian. Anyway, so they track it and they pray to it, and when they finally find the animal, the animal's sleeping, it's on its way out, it's completely, it's completely unconscious, it's in the spirit world, and they stroke it, they pray to it, and they give thanks to it, and they let it, and then they dispatch it, and they do it, but they're feeling let the spirit pass on, live on. And the way I see it, you see, you're allowing the spirit of this animal to live on through you. So this is my little shamanic way of doing it. I'm allowing the animal to come and live inside my spirit. And inside my spirit, inside my soul, there's a paradise. I've created a paradise of energy, and the animal comes and lives inside my paradise. And I'm allowing it to live forever. I'm giving it you see, we as self-aware, we are self-aware. This makes us a higher level of soul. The animal is not quite self-aware. It has a connection. So it's very hard for an animal to achieve the self-awareness, a transmutation into a self-contained non-physical spirit. It's hard for an animal to do this. The animal just continues its cycle of becoming another animal, or it's a group soul. When I eat the animal, I'm giving it a blessing of allowing it to advance through me. It's a very different approach. And if you don't understand this, you'll take some meditation to understand this. But think of it as this. You just give a prayer of thanks to the animal. Thanks for the sacrifice of the life. It's not really a sacrifice because I'm honouring it in my body. And here we go again. This goes to cannibalism. You wouldn't do this to another human. That's evil. And again, no, you wouldn't. We don't go eating. Self-aware beings don't do that to each other. There's a reason, because at a level of self-awareness, that other being has the ability to continue. So you're not giving them a blessing if you dispatch them. You're stealing that. But there is still another way. You're still not black and white. Again, I've got to take you to the wild man, the ancient ways. And there's a movie you can watch. I thoroughly recommend this movie. It's called The Emerald Forest. Emerald Forest. And it's a true story. It's a true story about a guy whose son gets lost in the Amazon rainforest. And of course they think he's kidnapped by a tribe. He's kidnapped by a wild tribe in the Amazon forest. But of course the Amazon forest people think they're saving him. They're rescuing him. And it's a story of the father spending 10 years to try and find his son lost in the Amazon rainforest. But when he finds his son is truly living in a society that is so remarkable. He ultimately, I don't want to tell you the end, but it's such a moving movie. I've got it. I can hardly ever watch it because I can't stop crying after I watch this movie. I'm crying now thinking about it. But this is this is the real way we're supposed to live. We lost that. Anyway, these guys, these tribes, these two wild tribes in the jungle. So right. The tribe he joins is called the Invisible. They call themselves the Invisible people. They're the gentle people. They move around carefully in the forest. They try and be invisible. And there's another tribe called the Fierce people. So there are already tribes that are aggressive, and the fierce people go around enslaving them. You know, we've always got this. Some are after destruction. They've got a bit more low level. And some are a bit more after this. They're a bit more peaceful. They're internal. There's always that. So we always need self-defense. So this son, this guy, was brought up by the invisible people. These were the peaceful ones. And they had a process of connecting to their ancestors. So whenever they had difficulty, they would come round to the fire, they'd drink the psychedelic juice, they'd go into a trance and they'd get the messages. But when they had real trouble, they had to connect to their deep ancestors. And all their dead ones, their loved ones in the past, they'd cremate them, and they'd get the ashes, and they had one communal urn, and they buried it deep. They'd dig out this urn, and in that urn was all the communal ashes, and they'd add the next one to the urn and rebury it. But in the times of dire need, they would have to access their own ancestors. And what they would do is dig up the urn, and they would take out some of the ashes, and they would put the ashes in water, mix it, and they'd all sit in the group and they'd all drink the ashes. So again, this is cannibalism, but it's not. It's on the higher level, because they know body and spirit, there's no separation, there's no life and death. It's only us who've got this squeamishness, this arbitrary ethics. And that would connect them to the ancestor. They would re-ingest particles of the previous beings. The bones, the particles, the molecules of the previous beings have got some information, and the new person ingests it. You see, again, in terms of eating meat, you are eating, if you can eat raw meat, you're eating living mitochondria. You're increasing your mitochondria. They're in there. You're eating bacteria. We need to eat. So what kind of meat do we need to eat? We need to eat high welfare organic meat. Ideally, you know the farm, and you know the farmer loves the animals and does it all in a nice way. You see, we've got religion now. Religion as well eats meat. They're different. I don't want to say them, but they've got religious ways of dispatching the animal, and they say, oh, it's religious. It's not. It's extremely cruel. They have no care for the animal, and at the end they just watch it die. There's no real love there. It's brutal. But that is where I was telling you that arbitrary ethics has messed us up. There's no understanding of what you're doing. There's no understanding of what you're doing. You've got to love the animal, you look after it, and you know these farmers, they will go through the animals, they continually grow them, dispatch them, but they love them because they love the process of this. They love the process of this. And if you have a pet animal, a pet dog or a pet cat, you know that doesn't live forever. And when the pet passes on, and the animals have that, the farmers have that, the sheepdogs, they need useful animals, but they pass on, they have new ones, they keep breeding them. They love the whole animal kingdom. See, here in our garden here, I feed the birds. But the birds, also I've got other things, that I've got birds of prey that catch those birds. And of course we got a cat, so the cat catches those birds. So we've got a whole ecosystem. So we feed everything in the ecosystem. We can't worry about each one dying. We have to keep the whole ecosystem, the whole thing flowing. So this is about the ethics of eating meat. And once you've got over that, then you know you can do it. But now let me explain how this works, because diet is important. In the last lecture I talked about the glandular system, and the final gland is the saliva. So the saliva is very interesting. The saliva is to do with digestion and eating food. You eat food, it goes into the saliva, and the saliva starts the digestion. It already starts digesting here. The enzymes start here, and then it slowly goes down to the lowest hormone here. This is the one we're trying to build. That's the one that regenerates everything. But when we eat food, you see, when we eat food, we're actually eating three things. Oh, there's the cat. Ignore the cat. You eat three things, you see. There's three main things in the universe. You have pure spirit, pure ether, the infinite. This is information. Then you have energy. Haven't you? You've got electromagnetism. Well, let's do it like this. A wave of energy. So this is still fluid, but now this is manifest energy. And then you've got matter, material substance, a particle, an atom. And once you've got information, energy, and substance, you've got life. All these three together is life. This is what we need for us. Information is the spirit, energy, the electromagnetism. This is the electromagnetism that powers the body. You can also call this chi, but chi is really these things, these two things. And you've got matter, material, you've got the bone structure, you've got the atoms. And these three things we need to create life. And when we eat, we are eating these three things. So this is a different idea. So at any given time, we're eating one of these three things. And the best food we can have is going to have all these three things. So say, for example, you can have, well, let's just take, we all know refined carbohydrates are not that good for you. So here's a cake. Here's a cake. And I like the odd cake as well. So I'm going to tell you the optimum diet. But like I said, I'm just explaining information. I probably will do 80 to 85% of everything I'm telling you. But 15% of it, I'm still myself not even doing it. I'm just telling you about it. So you look at me, but look at me with a pinch of salt, because you've got to think about this yourself. So here, we all know refined carbs. Here's a cake. There's not much. There's no nutritional value, and in fact, it's not that good for you. And so there's no substance in there that's any good. There's nothing much in there, and there's no energy in there. It's completely dead food, but it tastes nice. It's got a taste to it, and so the taste. You see, the first thing it goes in is taste. I taste it. That gets the saliva going. So the taste is feeding the spirit. It's feeding the soul. It's an experience. But that's not physical. So this unhealthy cake is not giving me any nutrition. It's not giving me any energy. Well, it's giving me a temporary energy. It's giving me some calories. But overall, it's losing energy because there's more work involved to digest this cake than I can get out of it. So I'm not getting these two, I'm getting taste. So I'm still feeding the soul. So when you're down, you're going to have something nice to lift you up a bit. But you've got to be aware you're not getting these two. Now, I could eat something else. Now, I could have a salad, say. So here's a salad, some salad leaves. Okay. Now the salad there's not much in a salad. Okay, the nutrition, we need meat, which I'll come to in a second. But the salad, you see, salad has got some energy. It's still alive, so I've got some energy here. And I might not want to eat a salad. Oh, I don't want a salad. So I'm not enjoying it. It's not really feeding my soul. But I know I've got a bit of life force from it. And I'm getting some nutrition, but not much nutrition really from a salad. I'll have to come to that. So I'm getting some energy from it. So I'm getting something from it, but not all three. And then I might eat, again, well, let's take meat. The most nutrition is a lump of meat. So here's a lump of meat, say. And out of raw meat. Raw meat, you're going to get the best. But we might not enjoy eating that. So again, I don't like the idea of that. But, well, raw meat is not good because I'm still getting some energy. But raw meat, you're going to get nutrition. Or even, let's say, cooked food. Cooked food. So, some basic cooked food. So cooked food has got some bits and bobs in it, but there's not much energy left. It's all been cooked. And if I don't like it, I'm not getting the spirit. So I'm getting some of that. Now the best food you're going to have is, of course, feeds all these three. The best food has got to be delicious. It's got to be delicious. That will feed your soul. It's got to have energy. That means it needs some enzymes. It needs electromagnetism. It needs life force in it. So that's the energy. And it's got to have a substance to it. It's got to have some nutrients. It's got to have some substance. It's got to have some building blocks. You see, the mitochondria is digesting it and eating it, but the mitochondria also releases things. So there's waste products. And these little bits and bobs go around and help building what we need. For example, obvious one, we need calcium to build the bones. So we need some of this stuff. We need heme iron to magnetize the blood. We need some of this stuff. Now, there is an argument that says we can create this. We can create these things. So I could go to a breatharian. I don't know if you know the breatharians. They don't eat anything. They just sit like that eating the pure cosmos. But this is going to the level that I talked about in a previous lecture, progression of the soul, a monk. A monk sits, a very advanced monk sits in meditation, but towards the end of their life, and again, this is the only way this is really real, because no breatharian is really going to do it, not really for long. They're going to have to take something. But it's towards the end, when you know you're going, when you're actually going, then you can stop eating. And they eat dried food, they eat less and less and less and less, till they're eating nothing. and they're not even taking liquid. And what they're doing is mummifying themselves, and their soul is separating from the body, but their body is still theirs. They're still connected to it until they become a skeleton. So a skeleton is not eating anything anymore. They're just sitting there, a skeleton, but that skeleton is still connected to the soul. The soul is still using that body. It's using that body as a base. So effectively, that skeleton is still alive. That's where all these creepy movies come from, skeletons. It's the one still alive. But it's not creepy. We've been given fear about all this stuff because the powers that be understand all this esoteric knowledge. They don't want us to have the power, so they make it scary for us. Like haunted houses. The house is haunted. Yeah. Anyway, that's an aside. So we're not talking about breatharians. We're talking about how to live here. Living here in this world means I acknowledge this body, and I don't deny I have to feed this body. This is physical, this is energetic, this is non-physical. So I have to acknowledge all three. The physical has to be fed, the energy has to be fed, and the soul has to be fed. This is real soul food. So you want to find the foods that you find delicious, give you energy, and also sustain you. And that is the secret of a good diet, and we can all do that. But now there's another thing we have to look at. We're feeding 3 levels, but there are also 3 types of food. We have food, or 3 types of things that we eat, we can ingest. Food. And we've got something else called medicine. And we have one more, poison. Poison. And here's a skull and crossbones. So there are 3 things we can ingest. Now let me define them for you. Food. Food is what will sustain you. It will sustain the balance. Remember, life is a balance. You have to balance all these things. All your different internal organs have a different function and a different balance. Your internal organs connect to the 5 elements. Again, I've got to talk more about this. So food will sustain the balance. Medicine, when you get knocked out of balance, you've lost some of your coherence, medicine will help you restore the balance. So medicine, if you take that, it helps you go back. Now, what is poison? Well, poison is if you are already in balance. I'm doing well. I'm fine in balance. I take the poison. Poison knocks me out of balance. So a very serious poison knocks you so far out of balance, you've separated from your body, it actually finishes you off. So poison knocks you out of balance. Medicine returns you to balance. Food will sustain the balance. So now let's look at what we got. Food essentially is meat. The best food is still meat, or all animal products. And if you're still having trouble eating meat, you can have eggs and raw milk. Raw milk, one of the best. And poultry, whatever you can manage, but try to have organic, high welfare meat. You don't want all these additional things to it. They put a lot of antibiotics, all sorts of stuff. We don't want any of that. We want a happy animal that's looked after in a nice environment. And when you eat that animal, you're absorbing all that nice environment. If you eat a factory farmed animal, we don't like that. No factory farms. You see, we want small farms, family run farms. This is the way forward. Otherwise, we're eating all that pain and suffering. You see, it's embodied, it's encased in the meat. And then medicine is plants. So plant-based diet, plant-based diet, you can't have a diet based on plants because plants are medicine. So you can have them, but you've got to realize they're more medicinal. You see, so together with food and medicine, this helps you to get, meat and plants, you've got sustenance and medicine. And the wild men would be eating plants, they'd eat leaves, but they'd have they'd know hundreds of different leaves around. So they're always changing this, and they know which one to eat. Now what's interesting, you've got poison. Poison is also plants. You don't really get poison meat. I mean, you do some meats, like you can eat a puffer fish. This is a famous sushi. If you have the puffer fish, fugu, it's got a poison gland. If you cut it wrong, you'll eat the poison. But even rotting meat, fermented meat is not poison. It's called high meat. People eat that. But it's not poison. It's just you're not used to it. Plants are medicine and poison. All medicine, even pharmaceuticals, is pretty much distilled from plants. And all poisons, where do they come from? Plants. And plants, I'm also including fungi, by the way. Fungi is different, but let's just include it. Let's include it in that. I mean non-animal products. Okay, there's animal and non-animal products. So fungi is medicine and it's also poison, and we have to play this game carefully. See, sometimes you do need some poison. You're locked in a certain balance and you need to dislodge yourself. Of course, but don't want too much of that. Usually we need medicine. We need medicine. But of course, food is the best. Food is the best. If you can have food, get the right food, it fixes everything. And this will increase your blood and increase your mitochondria. So good food with that is mitochondria. Well, now we know that. Let's just have a quick look at perhaps the top 10 foods. The top 10 foods that we can all get. Well, one of the best meat, of course, is meat, but it's wild meat. Wild meat is the best. But you can have high quality beef, etc., venison, etc., etc. And also organ meat, you have liver, calf's liver. Again, you might not like this, but this is the best, most nutritious of the organ meat. And if you can manage to have any of these things raw, it's going to be very good. Then you've got raw milk. Raw milk is one of the best things. And when you have raw milk, again, incredible nutrition in there. All the bacteria are so good for you. And this again doesn't go off. You can leave it for 1 week, 2 weeks. It just turns into yogurt, and then it gets sour, and then it becomes cheese, and you can still eat it. And none of this is poison. Raw butter, raw cheese. So again, you've got to eat the bacteria. So high quality raw cheese from good quality milk, very, very good. And of course fish, sushi, again you want wild. Wild is best or organic. Always best because it comes from a natural environment. We're collecting some of that energy. Now we go to the plant kingdom. Now the plants, king is berries. Again, you've got to look back at the wild man. They will always see berries and they're going to have berries. They're delicious. And berries are one of the few foods, berries and fruit, we can't deny they are intended to be eaten. The plant wants you to eat it. They've been created to be eaten because you eat it, the animal eats it and distributes the seed. So we know this is definitely food. Fruit and berries are definitely designed to be eaten, but we've got to be careful because we've got medicine and poison. And in general, all plant food has got a bit of both. They've got a bit of poison and a bit of medicine, so you've got to play them carefully. For example, spinach is not so good. There's more level of toxicity in spinach than there is benefit. And it's harder to get the nutrients, the minerals out of plants than it is to get it out of meat. See, plants don't digest. The plants digest in the gut through fermentation. Meat digests in the stomach through acid. And this is the other reason we know we've got an acid stomach. It's designed to eat meat. We do not have the bacteria for churning up loads of grass. We're not like a cow who can eat a load of grass and it goes through and through and through. We can't do that, you see. So this is another proof. People say our intestine is long. It's not long. Our intestine is still short for our body size. You haven't done the full research. I'll leave some links below to some interesting channels where you can research more about the vegetarian and the meat-eating diet. But here I just want to skip to the head, all the things you can eat. So out of salad, so berries, okay, berries. Best berries are blackberries. Blackberries is the best, the darkest colour, and then blueberries, raspberries, etc. Salad, out of the salad leaves and the herbs, out of salad it's really herbs. Herbs are the most potent. Most potent herbs, one of the best ones is coriander or cilantro, because this has got a detox. This chelates the blood. Coriander is very good for detoxing you. So if you're going to have salad, have herbs. And all the herbs, they've got such a strong, potent flavour. There's some connection to spirit. So there's something important about that. And then vegetables come down later. Vegetables, again, most vegetables are man-made. Engineered them over years and years from wild herbs have become vegetables. And some of those wild herbs are poisonous. So for example, the potato comes from deadly nightshade. So that nightshade has been involved until we can eat it now. But you've got to realise there's still elements of toxicity in there. So you've got to be careful. Remember, the wild man would eat these things, but they'd rotate it, and not a load of the same thing. They're eating different things all the time. And when you're eating wild meat, you're eating different animals. You eat different animals all the time. Birds, animals, spiders, lizards, they eat it all. Snakes. But you're eating all different types of DNA. You're eating all different types of information when you eat all these different things. You're part of the entire circle of life when you're living in the bush, in the wild. You're eating all different fruits, but when they're ready, you eat them. And honey, raw honey. See, if they find honey, they can eat honey. They go crazy for it. Honey, proper raw honey, you can get it, is very good. Got a lot of enzymes in there. And honey, again, it never decays. You've got 5,000-year-old honey found inside the tombs in Egypt. It's still fine, you still eat it. This gives you an overview. Oh, and seafood, out of seafood, oysters. Oysters, one of the best. One of the most unspoilt natural foods you can get. They have to grow in fresh water, in clean sea, and the minerals in oysters are incredible. This very, very good, high quality food. So when you look at some of these things, eggs, again, eggs, out of eggs, duck eggs are the best, more nutrition in duck eggs. But if you can eat these raw or put them in a smoothie, very, very good. All this stuff will regenerate you. And most of the problem we've got, why people find this bad for you, is processed. When you process the eggs, you process the milk, you process the cheese. Now you've changed it all out, you've added chemicals, you've destroyed most of it. Then it's not good for you. And all these allergies, it's because everything's been processed, everything is chemicals. You want to go back to what you're eating. The people have said it. If it didn't exist 200 years ago, don't eat it now. Yeah, that's a good guideline. But you have a think about it. You work out your own diet. And again, I'm saying this, but I don't necessarily do this. And you have to research that. I'll leave some links below. You can do some more research. But you find the diet that you enjoy, but be aware of it. Be aware of it. So when you understand this is really soul and bodybuilding. Soul and bodybuilding. And these are one and the same thing. We don't need to separate out the soul and the body. You've got to realise these are one and the same thing. You are a soul, but you are also a body. They are one and the same thing. And you've got to feed both. You feed the soul and you feed the body because they're the one and the same thing. And so when you build your body, you also build your soul. You train your awareness when you train your body. You train your awareness when you eat the food. Eating the food is supplying the stuff that's supplying the energy, supplying the nutrients for your body. And these also supply the energy, supply the nutrients for your soul. You see, the taste, the enjoyment of the food is feeding your soul directly. And it's activating the saliva. You see, when you eat and it's delicious, the saliva comes. You see, let's do this right now. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine a strawberry. Now, imagine a big strawberry. It's got to be the ripest, reddest, juiciest strawberry you've ever seen. And you know it's going to be sweet when you bite into it. You know how sweet that strawberry is going to be. You imagine it, you'll get saliva. Now you get the saliva and swallow it down. And as the saliva goes down, you follow the saliva down, feel it go down, and feel that delicious strawberry taste go down. You see, you've created saliva and you've created an energy and you're ingesting it. And that's just doing it pure. This is how the Breatharians supposedly will be doing it. You eat. Eating. You see it in Kung Fu Panda. They talk about it. The master will just eat universe. They eat the pure universe. And Kung Fu Panda says, well, I can't just eat universe juice. Well, this is the universe juice. This is how you eat it. But you see, when you eat real food, it's the same thing happening. You are dissolving that real food and you're turning that real food into energy. You're enjoying it and you're taking that energy in. You're feeding your soul with that delicious food. You see, don't waste your time eating food you don't like. Find the foods that you really like. And if they're foods that you know are good for you and you don't like them, work at it. Because you should find it, like for me as a vegetarian, it was very difficult to eat meat. But I tell you a final story. I really was thinking about how is it possible to not harm a living thing. You know, I shouldn't be harming anything. And I'm walking along contemplating this and then crunch, I step on something. I look down, I stepped on a snail. I killed the snail. And I thought, I was just contemplating how is it possible not to harm a living thing. And there I go, stamping on a snail. So it's not possible. But you've got to let go of it. It's not about harm. It's not about life and death. It is about pleasure and pain, but there is a way of dispatching animals without pain. And this is the way the old wild people would do it. The shamans would do it like that. Anyway, the point being is, you're feeding your soul, you're feeding your body. When you're training, you train both. You train your body and you train your soul. So do check out the rest of my channel. And I think in the next lecture, I'm going to be talking more about the energy body. So this one, we're talking about the physical body, but this body will also have another level to it, an energy body. This is connected more to the soul, more to this ability to separate out. So this, again, we talk about the astral body. And in esoteric science, they've got all different bodies, but you don't need to go that level of depth. There's really only three things: a physical body, an energy body, and a spirit. Completely non-physical, completely outside space and time. The energy body is still in space and time. It's still got a physical form. But you can imagine it. My body takes this shape. If I can feel inside my body the electricity will also take this shape. And then that energy, I want to work out, how can I extend it away? How can I increase my aura? And how can I extend out? So that'll be the next lecture. I think we'll talk about energy bodybuilding in the next lecture. So please do stay tuned, like and subscribe, and do go back and listen to the previous lectures, because they all lead up to this one. And also please do leave any comments or questions below. I will get back to you. Thank you so much for watching, and do have a great day.